A to the K.
A to the K.
A to the K.
Welcome to the A2theK Wrestling Show, where we've got another episode of...
At some point, Sean Spears is going to sue the fuck out of it. You know that, right?
I'm sure. Very well, yeah.
I mean, he'd probably get about, like, what, 50 quid?
Yeah.
Do you want me to Americanise that? $50?
Yeah. Just PayPal
Money.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Cash App. Isn't
Venmo.
isn't that the trendy thing? Anyway, sidetracked already before the video begins. In this episode of 10, we are talking 10 wrestlers who should have won the Royal Rumble.
Should have won it.
Some shocking names on here that have never won the Rumble.
Some shocking should-haves.
Exactly. And also, to be fair, there's some shocking names that have, who probably shouldn't have won. So
That is
we'll
also
talk about
true.
that as well.
Weirdly. No, I'll wait till I get there.
Okay. So we'll start off then with number 10, Ted DiBiase, right? And this, I'm talking about the 1989 Rumble, the second ever Rumble. So as we know, Hacksaw,
Yeah,
Jim
I was
Duggan
definitely, like,
won the first one.
2 years older.
Yeah. I was 1.
Yeah, you're younger than me.
I am. Yeah. Yeah, I think you would you still have been once in January? Innit? I don't know how that works. Well, maybe you were 2. You were 87. You would have been 2. Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Anyway, so
What the fuck were you doing watching Royal Rumble at 1 year old?
just what I did, you know. But obviously, the second ever Royal Rumble it's gone down in history because the winner was none other than Big John Studd, which would have been fine if, like, when he got to WrestleMania, he was in a title match or something, but he was actually just a special guest referee for some other match on the card. So I think this was before, in the Rumble, you earned a title.
Oh, so
shot.
yeah, we're used to, like, the format now.
Yeah, I think
so
this
you won
was-
the Rumble, and it was like, congratulations, you get to
exactly.
win the Rumble.
Yeah, like, I mean, the first ever, I mean, it might be in the same with this one as well, but the first ever Rumble, the Hacksaw one, was just a TV event. It wasn't like a pay-per-view or anything.
Right.
It was just, and then obviously he decided, you know what?
It's crazy, isn't it? Do you think expectations have gone too far now? Like, we always
God, yeah.
expect like some sort of
Yeah.
deal when you win these
Yeah.
things.
Every year, like, whether it's the surprise entrance, whether it's like what you get from winning, everyone just, expectations are high.
Yeah.
But Big John Studd won it in 1989, and like, why? Do you know what I mean? This was an opportunity, I think, to make another top star, and for me, that should have been Ted DiBiase. We know that at one point in time he was kind of set up, or at least heavily discussed, to win the world title. Never happened, and hence why we got the $1 million belt, because whether Hogan wouldn't drop it or whatever the reason was. But if you had Ted DiBiase win, I don't know, we could have had something bigger at WrestleMania, really,
Could have.
because I think he ended up fighting Beefcake. So, although we did get Hogan versus Savage at that WrestleMania, so it's kind of like peaks and troughs.
Nice.
But he could have done something. You know what I mean? But no, we got Big John
Who's
Studd.
this Hogan fella? Was he popular back in the day?
I think I've heard of his name a few times, but yeah, shocking to me that Ted DiBiase's never won one, and I think 1989 should have been his year.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
This is a fun one. So obviously, originally, and I'm gonna have to touch on this year now, aren't I? But originally, this was 2014, Carl, which is a bit of a clusterfuck of a year when you think about it for Rumbles, because this was the year that Punk left.
It was last match, wasn't it?
Mhm.
The Rumble.
And this was a very controversial decision for the winner in Dave Bautista. Now, that's not to say that Dave isn't a legend, but Dave fans did not fucking like that one, Carl.
No, they didn't.
And I suppose it's gone on here because, like, you know, Punk, as he's mentioned, as he's alluded to this year, he hadn't won a Rumble and he hadn't main event Mania.
Nope.
And this probably could have been, like, his whole issue and gripe back then, especially, was that he should main event Mania. So this could have been the thing that kept him. I mean, maybe not, because, you know, all the behind the scenes stuff and his podcast interviews with his at the time best friend suggested that there was, like, health issues and stuff that weren't being addressed. So you go, okay, maybe it wouldn't have kept him, but we'll never know. He should have won. This would have been the year for it, and then it would have naturally, because obviously, I'm just gonna choke. Sorry, we didn't precast that.
I'll do that.
Yeah, I'm not well.
Yeah.
So that this could have been like, you know, Punk could have won and then had his moments and dealt with that, and then maybe that. I mean, you still could have done something with Daniel Bryan, but we wouldn't have had to have the whole fan. I mean, is it kind of fate? Because, like, that would have changed Bryan's path, I suppose.
True.
But, like, you wouldn't have had the whole fan revolt and having to, like, fix things.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And then this year didn't really pan out very
Yeah,
well.
sadly, this year, I think we were both expecting him to win in 24. And obviously, for those who haven't seen it yet, spoilers. He lost to Cody, which is fine, but now, so very sadly, he's also injured, so he's probably not going to main event. So he still hasn't won a Rumble, still hasn't main event Mania, which is fucking nuts.
So he didn't win it in 2014, didn't win it in 2024. So fingers crossed for 2034, guys. Never know. In at number 8, Daniel Bryan.
What?
So 2015 was probably the most tone deaf thing ever in WWE, letting Roman Reigns win that Rumble. Even The Rock coming down couldn't make the fans not boo him.
It's almost an iconic image at this point where The Rock's like that and puzzled as fuck.
Exactly, he is literally like, what the fuck's going on? And people don't boo. It's mad now knowing what we know, what Roman went on to do and be.
Oh yeah. But at the time,
Chief and everything. At the time, it was just he was forced down everyone's throats, wasn't he? And this was the year after Daniel Bryan had gone through all that stuff with Batista and Orton and Triple H and everything and won the belts and all that good stuff. And the fans were desperate for him to get back there because after that, he kind of dropped down the card again. And he basically came in and was eliminated in a couple of minutes. And the whole crowd who were just fucking marking out for him just died. The minute he got eliminated, that was it. So, I don't know, I think
this was at the peak of WWE's insistence that Roman's the guy.
Yeah.
And we don't care what the fans think. In fact, they started at one point telling them, the fans don't know what they want. So it's I think
they're trying to make it out like we were stupid. WrestleMania season, people boo the ones that they love, and
or you know,
yeah, what's the more obvious
being stubborn.
But yeah, I don't know. For me, they should have gone with Bryan since he was the one who was most over and what the fans wanted. They could have had this whole redemption arc and built it back up again with Bryan. We could have had Bryan versus Brock or something. So I don't know. There's stuff that we could have done. Although again, it's funny with all mine. I'm going to be like, but actually, because we did get the Seth Rollins cash in, which
heist of the century.
Would that have happened?
Is that what they called it? It's what they called it. Yeah.
It still could have happened. Roman didn't need to be involved in that for it to happen, but
I think it made it more poetic that he was involved.
Yeah, and the fans were made up because they didn't want either Brock or Roman to win it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And to be fair, had there been a fan favourite there, it might have changed that reaction.
True.
It needed to be, let's fix this problem. This massive problem we made, let's fix that.
Yeah. Speaking of massive problems, audio listeners.
Sorry.
So that's number 8.
Come to think about it, are WWE making bad decisions so that they can then course correct it in fantastic ways?
Maybe.
Because so far that's what they're doing.
Basically.
Right? Sadly, it's not what they did here.
No.
So my next one, Carl, is 2011, and it's Santino Mar. And I'll be honest, this was a bit of a chaotic year for the Rumble again, because for some reason they had 40 men in this one. Why the fuck not?
Why not? Yeah.
And then in and amongst all of those people, we went with Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah.
Who has always been a polarizing figure. WWE got really behind him at one point and decided he's going to be the guy, right? Yeah. It never really panned out, and he then became an incredibly controversial figure, so that's definitely not going to pan out now. But this year, 2011, the fans were so behind Santino, and it would have just made sense to give him this moment, you know?
Yeah.
It's baffling that, even if it wasn't Santino, it was baffling that they went with Del Rio.
Yeah,
especially 100%. If they go on to Mania and just lose anyway.
Yeah.
It just kind of soured the whole Rumble, but, he was white hot with the fans. Santino at this point,
right? So the Rumble, and we were chatting to him when he came on the show. I do this a lot.
Yeah, when we had him on, a friend of the show, Santino.
But the Elimination Chamber was another prime example. It wasn't just it was a one-off. People actually fucking wanted Santino to be the guy.
Well, to be fair,
and I remember this vividly, this Rumble, and I was desperate for him to, because I hated Del Rio. He was just shit,
of course,
right?
Yeah,
and it's not the best decision. Ultimately, the reason he was as pushed as he was is they wanted to create a new Latin star to branch out into other demographics.
When things don't happen naturally,
exactly.
This kind of let's be honest, they've done this. They did this when they were trying to. They did it with Jinder Mahal, basically, when they were trying
Carly and stuff like that.
They keep doing it when they go, well, we want to get into this demographic, so we'll push somebody. It's well, kind of fandom kind of needs to happen naturally.
Yeah,
I understand you're trying to expose the fan base to stars more, but you can't tell them that this is going to be the guy and expect it to just work.
No,
and they failed at this so many times. It's just baffling that they keep doing this.
Yeah. But I just remember him hitting him with the Cobra and going to throw him out, and then just when he reversed it last minute, and I was just devastated for him. I wanted him to win so much.
But they invoke reactions from you, Carl. So was it the right thing?
No.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not. Coming in at number 6, I'm going to take you to 1993. It is an absolute crime that Randy Savage never won a Royal Rumble match. In 93, they decided to run with Yokozuna. And just that, the whole finish to the match just infuriates me. They made Savage look like a fucking idiot. He tried to pin Yokozuna in a Royal Rumble match. And then Yokozuna, while he was lying on the floor, basically gorilla pressed him and threw him over the rope. It's terrible. And I understand, for whatever reason, Vince thought Randy was too old at this point. Like, they were only putting him on commentary. He didn't want to do anything with him. But they had a massive star in Randy Savage there who could still go in the ring. But yeah, instead they decided to go for Yokozuna. And obviously, as a result of that, we got the absolute shit show that was WrestleMania 9 with fucking Brett versus Yoko and the fucking flower in the eye, and then Hogan coming down to save the day. Horrendous. What we could have had was Bret the Hitman Hart versus Randy Savage. Yeah. Would that not have been a fucking clinic?
No, we needed Hogan.
So, yeah, I just think having Yoko win is responsible for one of the worst WrestleMania moments of all time. So they could have given it to Randy. We could have had Savage versus Bret Hart, like a passing of the torch. Like, that would have made Bret Hart even more of a star, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And instead, they just had him floundering around.
Yeah, it feels like a massive missed opportunity, that, to be fair.
Yeah. For me, Savage 93 should have been the guy.
Savage 93 sounds like a radio station. Welcome back to Savage 93.
You're listening to Savage 93.
Sorry. So, Carl, how about Randy 06?
Randy 06.
So this, obviously, it's a little bit... I don't want to mislead the audience here. Randy's won a Rumble.
Yes.
So I'm talking about the one he didn't win.
Yeah, to be fair.
Yeah. So I get it. This isn't people who've never won a Rumble. This is people who should have won a Rumble. And he should have won this one, right?
Slight technicality, but we'll allow it.
I'm aware that I might catch a little bit of heat for this one. But this is 2006. This is sadly post Eddie Guerrero's passing.
Yeah.
And I actually think, or it seems alluded to, and I'll get why, that Randy was probably the one who was going to win the Rumble. And obviously in the wake of Eddie's passing, they strapped a rocket to Rey Mysterio and let him do the Eddie tribute act that he's been doing for the last 10 years.
Yep.
And maybe more. Where are we now? Nearly 20 years?
No, yes.
So, they pushed Rey. Rey ultimately won it. And look, let's be completely honest, and I think we've both shared this opinion for a long time now, and this is no disrespect to Rey Mysterio. He's an absolute legend in the business, and this is, again, personal preference, personal opinion, but he was never a world heavyweight champ. He was never, I was never big on him as a world heavyweight champ. It didn't feel right. He was a cruiserweight guy. He was a fantastic cruiserweight, so it just seemed really odd. Then they had to keep doing the David versus Goliath matches because the people he was fighting as a heavyweight champ were like Batista and Big Show.
And also, he was the worst champ. He literally scraped through all the matches that he had.
And you could tell that Randy was meant to be the guy because we could have had Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton, and we ended up with a triple threat because they still needed to put Randy Orton in there somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. It just. You could. I get it, and I get it was like a reaction through emotion, but I feel like Randy still should have won this Rumble. Like, there's so much they could have done to honor Eddie with Rey. Still, it didn't have to include the Rumble and the main event.
No,
and it just feels like a missed opportunity there. Oh yeah, I mean, obviously Randy has won Royal Rumble, so it's not the biggest missed opportunity, but
But I mean, obviously we'll get a bit of flack for it, but neither of us think Rey should have won that Rumble. No. We understand why. But at the same time,
you can totally understand why they went down that line and still go, it wasn't for me, And again, absolutely no disrespect to Rey, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. In at number 4, can you believe Chris Jericho's never won a Royal Rumble?
I actually can't.
Crazy, right? And the one he should have won, Anthony, was 2017, because this was when Jericho was back in WWE. He had the list. We had all that awesome stuff with Kevin Owens, right?
That was a really peak time for Jericho.
That was the best thing going in WWE at that point in time.
Him and KO was saving WWE at that point.
Yeah, and...
By the way, underrated champion KO.
Yeah, to be fair. And what did he do, Anthony?
What?
He had Goldberg squash him, didn't he? Right? And...
Of course he fucked.
What we should have had was Jericho winning the Rumble. Just the whole thing with him and KO then turned into a match for the Universal title at WrestleMania. That was the match people wanted to see. Instead, what we got was Kevin Owens got squashed by Goldberg. and then it ended up coming for the United States Championship and went on second. And as you've heard Jericho say, that was basically why he's in AEW, because he was like, that's the piss break match. He wouldn't have minded if it opened, wouldn't have minded if it was like co-main event or main event, but going on second.
And I think I've heard him talk about this on his podcast where he said like they knew what they had. Or I'd say he knew what he had. Him and KO knew what they had in what they were doing. Yeah. So it was a massive fucking insult, really.
It was literally the best thing that they had going at that time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And, again, more tone-deaf decisions in it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't remember who won the Rumble that year, if I'm honest, but it should have been Jericho. And it should have been Jericho versus Kevin Owens. It should have been for the Universal title or whatever he was holding at that time. And who knows, maybe AEW wouldn't even be here today if they hadn't wound Jericho up.
Kind of, because WWE ended up on the list. Look what happens.
Exactly. WWE, you just made the list.
Because Jericho is pissed.
And Jericho actually made the list. Our list.
Nice.
Funny.
Nice. So, Carl, okay. I think we both very much agree on this. I don't actually know how a lot of social media or fan base feel about this. But
tell us, fan base.
But Mickie James making her hardcore country debut in WWE in 2022 as the not TNA, Impact Knockouts?
Yeah.
No, just Impact Women's Champion, wasn't it?
Knockouts.
Is it Knockouts TNA thing?
I think it was anyway, Knockouts.
Impact Women's Champion. I don't know. Anyway, she made she as a member of Impact or TNA, actually entered the Rumble, rocked up on WWE, blew everyone's fucking minds. First time that's ever happened, blew everyone's fucking minds. And you and I were so big on this, going, you know what? How cool would it be if we had champion versus champion at Mania? If this relationship kept going, if she wins the Rumble, fucking badass, it goes on, and she could have gone up against the likes of Charlotte or even Becky or something along that line, and you'd had a fucking banger of a match.
She still could have lost, and, you know what I mean?
They could have had a lose at Mania. I don't think Impact would have had an issue with that. But champion versus champion would have been a great thing for both companies. Yeah. And Mickey's an absolute fucking legend. So we were both like, yeah, that needs to happen. And she walks out. She's got a hardcore country music. Yeah. So she's full like Impact Mickie. And we were like, this is fucking awesome. Yeah. And then she got eliminated.
Ironically, didn't make much of an impact.
Relatively early, to be fair. And it was great seeing her. Yeah. And she, it wasn't like she got thrown out immediately or anything embarrassing, but like it just, I felt like she could have had more impact in the Rumble and definitely should have fucking had the opportunity to win this.
Oh god, I mean, unprecedented, and obviously Jordan Grace has done it now, and that was awesome as well. But unprecedented at the time that when they just Blase announced it as well, just to join the Raw or something. They're like, and the Impact Knockout champion Mickie James is going to be in the match.
Impact Women's Champion Mickie James is going to be in the match.
And like it just kind of breezed over it, but how
they just Tyler breezed over it.
Just Tyler breezed over it. But it could have been absolutely huge to have champion versus champion at Mania,
without a doubt. And what did we get? We got Ronda Rousey winning the Rumble, and losing.
Exactly, and that in itself is just awful. So.
I mean, I correct me if I'm wrong. I know you and I felt this way, but I think the crowd was kind of dead for that win as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair. I mean, I'd give Ronda props absolutely for what she did in her first run. Second run, I just felt like she was phoning it in, but just wasn't for me. Which takes us to number 2, no surprise, Mr. Perfect, 1991. Should have won this bad boy. What they did instead, they had Hogan winning it back to back. And essentially, we then ended up getting Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter in a WrestleMania main event.
Okay.
And I don't want to shit on the Sarge, because obviously Sarge is a legend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's an awful main event. He wasn't a main eventer.
No.
And
I think we'll take it to be going for the All American versus because this was Sergeant Slaughter's heel run.
Yeah, this was when he was like,
hey, look. Going back into the 90s here and remembering this shit.
Yeah, this is when he'd like renounced America and all that. Yeah, and he was like teaming up with Iron.
So they were going for that, weren't they? The Hogan, the All-American versus the anti-American, essentially, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But no, we could have, like, this WrestleMania could have been so much bigger. We could have had Perfect win it, and then you could have had Perfect versus Savage or something for the main title.
Yeah, it would have been great.
You could have done Hogan and Warrior, you know what I mean? Like, imagine that as a double build for getting WrestleMania. But it still infuriates me to this day because Perfect should have had the main title. or he should have at least been competing for it. One of the best Intercontinental Champions of all time. What are you thinking? You thinking something stupid?
No, I'm not trying to think of more puns. Just carry on.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Kurt Hennig, and he should have won it. Instead, we got Hogan doing it back-to-back.
It's just Carl talking about one of his faves.
Basically. I just wanted to talk about Perfect, okay? So number 2 on the list, 1991, Mr. Perfect should have been the winner.
Should have. Okay, so this one, right? It's a hard one to say that, like, I can't even go, I'm firm on this belief because this is, it's kind of through hindsight, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, Carl. Well, I'm talking about the 2004 Royal Rumble, Chris Benoit, right? Okay. So at the time, probably wasn't the worst decision in the world.
Yeah.
Now it may be, because we're not allowed to watch that Rumble now. Well, you can. I don't know. You probably can, but
someone stormed your house and put it on.
No. But that being said, Kurt Angle, absolute legend, was sort of peaking the company at that time anyway. It's crazy that he's never won a Rumble. And, fuck it, I'll use the lens of hindsight and go, he should have won this Rumble. Then we could have still had Kurt versus Eddie anyway.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, it's like, as I said, I'm a little bit loose on this one because I'm like, well, I'm not saying it's a bad decision to have Benoit win. Like, at the time, I totally get why they booked it that way.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give Kurt a win at Royal Rumble and I can go back and rewrite history, I'll probably do this one, in all honesty.
Yeah, to be fair. It's still, again, he's another one. Like, the fact that you've got the likes of Angle and Jericho and people like that who just never won a Rumble. Randy Savage, the top guys.
Sorry, it came across a little bit like this. You just threw the name Randy Savage out there, like randomly after your sentence.
Well, it was meant to be included.
Sorry, this is the way it came across. It's like you finished talking and went Randy Savage.
Oh, it's just be Tourette's. Oh yeah. But yeah, I think crazy that Angle never won one, and obviously, as you say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But if we could rewrite history for that particular reason, then Angle would have been the perfect choice. And as you say, we still would have had Angle versus Guerrero. Still would have been a banger, but that could have been how we got there for that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Them's be are 10 names of people who should have been Royal Rumble winners. So,
and don't come at us. Randy was a Royal Rumble winner. I get that.
Yeah, okay. It's a slight technicality on one of them, but still, who do you think should have won the Rumble? Do you disagree with any of the ones that we've said? Is there someone else that we've overlooked who absolutely should have been a Royal Rumble winner?
Do you want us to cover 10 absolutely shocking Royal Rumble winners that shouldn't have won?
Basically, just this list again.
The opposite.
Instead of the people who should have
who
won.
Actually won and be like, what the fuck?
Or just all 10 for Rey Mysterio. No one knows. But yeah, let us know in the comments and like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.